welcome to Shunaji Creates. This is a new series that I've decided to make to explain my creative process to you in more detail. I think there's a lot that goes on into making a track, an EP for me as a producer and a lyricist. So I just wanted to give you better insight into all the steps involved, from making a demo to recording in the studio with musicians, writing lyrics, recording my vocals, mixing and mastering, all the way to release date. So the first episode is going to be about Dirty Girls. This is my latest single, which dropped on 17th of April. Thank you so much for streaming it and buying it. It's been amazing. And I just want to give you a bit more of an understanding of how this single came about, what it's about, and what it means to me as an artist. So thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope you enjoy it. So the first part of this Shunaji Creates is going to be about lyrics, and I'm going to talk about the first verse in Dirty Girls. This might take place over a few clips, so please stay with me. It's going to be really fun. I could give a fuck about mascots, superficial forget-me-nots, audiovisual petticoats. I'm Joshua in Jericho. This is my personal feeling about mainstream music and how I believe that some actors in that environment are like mascots as opposed to actual artists or creatives or vehicles of meaning. Superficial forget-me-nots, that's what mascots are to me. Audiovisual petticoats, so just something to like wear, but not something that to me is loaded with actual meaning or purpose. I'm Joshua in Jericho. Joshua is a biblical character, and in this I refer to the Battle of Jericho, which is when the Israelites set out to conquer Canaan. So you can read more about that, but it's basically pronouncing myself as someone who's very determined and has a mission and is set out to fulfill that mission. My profession is clerical, so I'm a clerk and that's how I treat my music. I'm very methodical, I'm very dedicated, and I spend a lot of time working to obtain the results that I want and reach the goals that I want. So that's talking a bit more about my process. In fact, I rap plenty, numerical. So I rap a lot and I rap fast, and I think that my flow is kind of geometric in the way that I like to place rhymes and build rhyme schemes. Drove to Portland in Oregon. I didn't. I drove to California, but it's close enough that I wanted to put that in my rhyme. Fantasizing on Oregon. I love alliteration. I love wordplay. So that's a demonstration of that. And I'm also a huge fantasy fan. So obviously fantasizing on Eragon, the Eragon series. Christopher Paolini, a fucking genius. Prophylactic. So prophylactic things are something that protects shields, and that's what condoms are also called. So I start exploring the meaning behind Dirty Girls, which is, the censorship of women's sexuality, slut shaming, and gender roles. So you can see how I, have all these little Easter eggs. Like when William's wearing a jacket. So William is, a nickname for a penis. When William's wearing a jacket, that's a prophylactic. That's like my way of saying like when you put a condom on a penis. When you wonder where I'm from, it's another planet. I never have felt like belonging anywhere, and that's part of my experience as a daughter of diaspora and a displaced person, and someone who, despite feeling like Italian and belonging to Italian culture and identity myself, I was never really fully accepted as that by my community. I will still go back to my hometown and people assume that I'm not from there. So it's really about explaining what it's like to be a Black person anywhere that isn't, predominantly Black, really. Channeling Janet Jackson, Lauren Hill, Nina Simone, who are, great references for me and women that I admire musically and beyond. But I say Nina Simone in Italian in the way that you would say Simone in Italian. So channeling Janet and Lauren, and Nina Simone, nome e cognome. So that's how I build the rhyme, and I then lock it with the Italian language. Nome e cognome means name and surname in Italian. Poi non chiedermi quando, don't ask me when nor how, né come. And that rhymes with nome e cognome. Ma come fa, come fa. But how does she do what she does, which also rhymes? Whatever happened to the wishes that I'd wish on a star? So, wish upon a star, blah, 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 blah. Since I'm never looking back, I'm going to get very far. To me, that refers to a bit of a mantra that I have internally and that I've had in my life. Like, I moved away from my hometown in Rome, left my family, my friends, and I moved to London when I was 19 in 2013. And I came here to pursue a law degree, which I obtained, and I graduated first class, and I did really well. But in my high school years, you know, I was often bullied. I received a lot of racial abuse throughout my life living in Italy. And at times when those things happen, I was like a rock bottom in terms of like self-worth. I don't think anyone can really understand it unless they've been through it. For me, all my life, like I was between deciding to let go and quit and give up or to move on. And I always had the strength and then a great support network in my family and closest circle that allowed me to move on. I made the decisions I made. I decided to move to London. And after those decisions, great things have come for me. So this bar is actually about saying, I'm not looking back to those times and periods of my life that brought me down. And that means that I'm going to get very far, because by overcoming those hurdles and by finding the strength within myself to not give up, I was able to achieve all the amazing things that I've accomplished. And then when he reads between the lines, we're going to kiss through the bars. That's like when he reads between the lines of my rap, we're going to kiss through the bars, which is a reference to Elliott Smith, which is one of my favorite songwriters. Between the Bars is the name of the song, very popular song by him. He has a bar that also says, you know, I'll kiss you again between the bars. So that's just, you know, my own reference to my love for Elliott Smith and his songwriting, and anyone who can read between the lines is gonna know what I meant. And finally, riding with boys in their cars, you know that so riding with boys in their cars comes from a movie reference. I'm a huge fan of movies. DBEP is called Midnight Movie, so I've always loved to make movie references. I have a track called Fellini, and this particular bar refers to riding in cars with boys, which is a movie, I think it's a 90s or like early noughties movie. I love Drew Barrymore. I think she's amazing and so underrated as an actress and as a human being. But this movie is called Riding Cars with Boys, and it's about this girl. I think she's really like young, like maybe 14, 15. She gets pregnant by this guy that really has no clue about what he wants in his life, and it's just really an issue. And she kind of gets ostracized by her family, who's kind of conservative family, because, you know, she's a cheap girl, because she can't go to college, even though like loads of people who are pregnant go to college. I mean, it's just these standards that we subject women to, of like having certain behaviors and making certain choices, and if you don't make those choices then you're doomed. And she kind of goes through her whole story, and it's a difficult life. You know, she's let herself down, but she comes out on the other side with an amazing son who's, you know, really empathetic, great man, and at the same time she's fulfilled her life ambition of being a writer, and she's nonetheless able to become a writer despite those decisions she's made. And so for me, this is an allusion to that plot line and explaining that women's sexuality does not deter us from achieving certain things in our lives, holding valid opinions. And so that's something that meant something to me. And then finally, it goes on to the hook. I'm like those girls you call dirty, 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 dirty though. I'm like those girls you call dirty, 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 dirty. That kind of refers to the main theme of the track. This is a little bit about how I write my raps, the kind of meanings that I inject into them, and I hope that they're really useful. There's obviously 2 other verses, so if you have any questions about those, you can find the lyrics on my Bandcamp. You can find them under the Dirty Girls release. Feel free to ask me any questions in the comments via DM, or you can write info@shunaji.com, and I'd be so happy to explain them, because I spend a lot of time writing lyrics, so I love when people get them, and if they don't, when they ask me, what the hell does this mean? Drop any questions you have, and I'll see you again with the next episode for Dirty Girls on demo and recording.